My name is Greg Ewing. I am 52 years old. I live here in Terre Haute, Indiana. I am the current elected sheriff of Vigo County. Um, After leaving ISU, I'm trying to think, and I know this is going to be a little bit off. I was trying to think what year. It might have been 90. I graduated from ISU. And at the time, I was actually working in loss prevention for J.C. Penney Company, and once I graduated from ISU, I was transferred immediately to a manager's position in loss prevention in Indianapolis with J.C. Penney's. And I always kind of really, my heart was kind of in law enforcement, and more so probably the sheriff's office or state police, more than a municipal police department. And, so I wound up applying for a job in the jail to get back from Indianapolis back to Terre Haute, which is my hometown. Well, my family's all here. Um, and so I applied for the jail, took a pay cut from being a manager of a large retail chain to come and work in a county jail. But, ultimately I think I kind of set my sights on, I wanted to be a deputy sheriff. I wanted to work the road. I wanted to go out and patrol and do all that encompassed. And in 1992, a position opened up, and the current sheriff then hired me as a deputy sheriff. Went to the law enforcement academy, and fast forward, I've done many things on the department through those early years, from working the midnight shift to working the evening shift to doing school liaison, programming. A lot of administrative stuff under the previous sheriff, right, just prior to me taking office. Sheriff Marvel had put me in third in command of the sheriff's office, and I was over our operations, and that really entailed quite a bit of cross training between things that go on the patrol division and things that go on in the jail division, as well as our civil side and so forth, because there's so many moving parts and pieces. So, and I was really thankful for him to do that, because it gave me a real good understanding of what being the sheriff of a county entailed, and just all the responsibilities. And so in 2010, I threw my name in the hat and was elected by the citizens here in Vigo County to be the sheriff. And I've served, this is my second term, so this is my last year of my second term. So. But it's been a fun ride, and I look back and I think, I am very fortunate, and I tell a lot of our young deputies this, especially those that have just come out of college and are starting to get their foot in the door. And I think that's what I look at, is taking that job in the jail and taking that pay cut from that manager's job. I was looking for my foot in the door, and so that ultimately has led me to this seat right here, as being 84-1, the sheriff, and it's been an interesting ride. Well, that kind of goes in with what I said earlier. Of course, I'm from here. My family's from here. My father's a retired elementary school teacher. My mother's a retired secretary for our school system. Aunts, uncles, grandparents are all from here in Terre Haute. So, aside of that one year I lived in Indianapolis right after college, I just really like our community. This is where I grew up. This is where I went to school, elementary through getting my degree at ISU. And I just, and I've always said this to people, Terre Haute has a lot to offer. And Terre Haute, although we're about 106, 107,000 in population, we still kind of act like a real small town. And the thing about that is, when I say that, you got to be careful, because after you talk to somebody for a little bit, you're like, oh yeah, oh, you're related to, so you kind of get that real closeness, and I like that, and that's where I'm raising my family, and so ISU was, my father attended Indiana State University, and so it was just kind of a natural. It was right here in my hometown, and I knew they had a good criminology department. Although when I first went in, I was non-preference, because I really didn't know, do I follow my father's footsteps and become an elementary school teacher, But boy, law enforcement was really something that was pulling at me. And I started kind of in that path of elementary ed. And I took a couple of classes and I thought, I don't have, I don't have the patience for, for this. I think I need to be doing more law enforcement type of stuff. So then I obviously declared my major and graduated with a bachelor's in criminology. So. Well, I think that what my schooling at Indiana State University and in particular criminology, it gave me a real good groundwork for when I did start this job and for when I did go to the law enforcement academy, because it did give you all the basics of how everything was created. And I'm going to tell you one thing I remember in one of my very early classes, and I hadn't thought about this until this interview, is we learned about the office of sheriff and shire reeve and how that all developed from those very early England days of kings and kingdoms and so forth. And it's kind of funny that it's all coming back to me, and those fond memories of listening to Dr. Huckabee at that time explain how the office of sheriff started, the oldest form of law enforcement that we know here in the United States. And what a fond memory that this has just really sparked. But I think overall it did lay the proper groundwork so that when we started in at the academy and started delving into specific state statutes and the law, I already had all the background of of the mens rea and all that stuff that's all intertwined. That had I not had that, I wouldn't have had probably the knowledge of how we get to the criminal codes and how they're written and knowingly and intentionally and all of that, with malice or without malice and so forth. So I think that laid the groundwork for that, as well as also doing statistics. You sit in those classes and you're like, gosh, where am I ever going to use this in law enforcement? Well, sitting in this chair, this is a ton of statistical data that we have to analyze and look at. And I just think back that all that stuff that was being taught in my early years, that I thought, how important is this, has really turned out to be extremely important. And so, I credit that foundation at those early years in actually getting me to where I'm at today. Plenty of those. The professors that I have met, and as when you're younger, especially if you're uh, the typical college student coming out of high school and going into college, it's a little bit different realm that you go into, going from classroom, building to building, or whatever, and the professors. But I really came to, especially as I went through school, really respecting those professors and doctors that were teaching the classes. Um, and I can honestly say there are several of them, and some of them have passed, but we have over the years become very good friends. And the funny thing is one of my professors in particular, I have actually had him set on different things here at the sheriff's office for me, because I just had that, you know, um, relationship with him, that I knew it was going to be a good fit for whatever the programs are we were doing here. And I think that's another plus too. If I'm sitting here just being very candid, is when you develop those relationships and also working in a very town in which I've gone to school at, is it's all part of that networking too. And I can just walk across the street, and although now that I'm a little bit older, some of them are not there. But I think I referenced Dr. Huckabee, and he, I got to know him very well, and I can remember those first few days in class. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, But we have turned out to be very good friends, and I learned a lot. I think I referenced him early on about explaining the history of sheriff and law enforcement in general. And still to this day, I will see him, and just fond memories of those early days, and some of those professors that, you know, I think that as I look in my position here, you can kind of tell those people that have that spark that are going to do stuff, or become, or excel, or whatever. I look back, and I look at Dr. Huckabee in this case as a mentor to me as to where I've gotten to this day. So, um, and I'm grateful for that. Well, first of all, I can tell you, obviously I may be a little more biased with this because I am from here in town. I did go to ISU. I do have a bachelor's in criminology, but I can tell you, um, I have been on different advisory committees to the criminology and criminal justice department here at ISU, and what I see them do, which is typical even when I think back to my earlier days, is they try and bring in all the people that are in the field that are working in the various, whether it's corrections to psychology. I mean, because everything's all intertwined when you're talking about law enforcement, especially incarceration and jails and our problems that we're having. And I've been in these meetings, and it's a lot of the colleagues that I work with currently that are brought in to advise the criminal justice and criminology department on current trends, and what are we seeing. Because my belief is sometimes, when you're strictly instructing from a higher educational uh, area, sometimes it's great to have that. What's going on today? What's the boots on the ground seeing? And they bring us in, and we have a very good discussion, which I think really has helped ISU's program, because they can then tweak it and gear it towards what's relevant. Because what's relevant today wasn't relevant 30 years ago. I can promise you that. Law enforcement has changed. Um, the way things are done, I mean, even from a scientific standpoint, is not the same. And you see that on television now with just society as a whole. So I think that, ISU's always had a great reputation in their criminal justice and criminology department. And I think because they do involve people from different sectors within this whole criminal justice umbrella to get what's going on today and what's going to be relevant to teach the future of tomorrow. And I think that's a huge plus. The number one thing I see, and we've had several openings, and whether you're going into corrections, or law enforcement, or whatever realm that criminal justice area encompasses, is you've got to start at the bottom. It's very rare that you're going to jump in and become a detective. I've had a lot of young people. We do an internship with the ISU criminology department, and they come in and work in the jail and ride with my deputies as part of one of their courses. And it's very rare for somebody to just jump in and become a detective, because you have to have the knowledge of how do you get to work a case if you're not out there actually at the very start of a case, right? So the one thing I see, especially with this younger generation, is they it just relax, take some time, and start out at that, laying that groundwork. Okay, you're going to complete school, you're going to have a degree. Okay, now where do you take it from there? You're not going to be the CEO, you're not going to be the chief, but you're going to be at a starting level, and just work hard, learn all you can learn, and you will move up through the ranks to be that head detective, to be that person that's in charge of an agency, to whether it's the FBI or CIA or any of those branches. You've got to start at the beginning. It's very hard to climb right on the middle of a rung and go up. So my My best advice is work hard, study, and when you get that job, do the best you can do, because let me tell you what, somebody's watching and somebody's noticing. That's what happened to me. You know, be on time, do the best you can, write your reports great. Um, and, you know, this job, and I tell a lot of our young deputies, it's about doing what's right when nobody's looking. And you will advance and you will move up. And who knows, someday you might be the sheriff.